It's 4 o'clock. The top stories live on 7 News. Direct hit. The US torpedoes an Iranian warship. We're live with the latest on the war in the Middle East. Welcome home. The first plane load of Australians fleeing the war zone arrives in Sydney. Canada's Prime Minister delivers a historic speech to our federal parliament. The lawyers called in the wake of Kyle and Jackie O's radio buster. And F1 fans pack into Albert Park as Grand Prix fever takes hold in Melbourne.
Live from Sydney, this is 7 News with Hugh Whitfeld.
Good afternoon. The US Defence Secretary claims America is winning and Iran is toast as the war in the Middle East widens. A US submarine sinking an Iranian ship in the Indian Ocean. More than 80 sailors died. 7 News correspondent Jacqueline Robson is live in Tel Aviv this afternoon. Jackie, Iranian troops now a target in international waters.
Hugh, the Americans really wanting to send a message to the Iranians that they are safe nowhere, attacking this warship 40 kilometres off the southern coast of Sri Lanka in international waters. And you can see that incredible vision there, half a world away from the conflict here in the Middle East. The Sri Lankan Navy responded to the distress call, finding close to 90 were dead, rescuing more than 30. It's understood 180 were on board. The US Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, claimed it was the first sinking of an enemy ship since World War II. Now, that's certainly true from the Americans at least, but Iran continues to return fire with strikes in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, but also Turkey. An Iranian ballistic missile was shot down by NATO air defences in the Mediterranean. Turkey now vowing to speak to NATO members about this escalation and widening of the conflict. The death toll in Iran continues to mount. More than 1,000 have been killed, plenty more injured. But the Trump administration is continuing to use that strong language when it comes to achieving the objectives of this conflict.
America is winning, decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy. They are toast, and they know it.
Now, the ground offensive by Israeli troops in Lebanon is continuing. Tens of thousands of people have now fled that area, but Kurdish groups in northern Iraq are now preparing to be called upon by the US, which could mean a cross-border operation into Iran. It seems no slowing down on the conflict. Hugh, the US Senate has now blocked an attempt that would limit Donald Trump's war powers.
OK, Jacqueline Robson in Tel Aviv. Thank you. The first plane load of Australians escaping the war zone in the Middle East has touched down at Sydney Airport. Around 200 people were welcomed with tears and cheers as they reunited with loved ones last night.
Feeling fabulous, over the moon. Yeah, she's back. My brother, my nephew and my mom are back. Safe and sound. I'm so happy. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
More planes from the Middle East are expected to land tonight. We'll have more on the arrivals later in the bulletin. Canada's Prime Minister has made a historic address to federal parliament. Mark Carney says Australia is a strategic cousin and the two nations must work together on defence, artificial intelligence and critical minerals. Let's go live to Josh Martin, who's in Canberra. Josh, the Iran conflict was looming over talks between the leaders.
Good afternoon, Hugh. Both say they want to see a de-escalation in the Middle East, but support the moves by the United States and Israel to prevent Iran getting nuclear weapons. Anthony Albanese greeting Mark Carney with a hug and a handshake as cannons fired at Parliament's forecourt this morning. Inside, the chamber was packed with senators and MPs keen to hear from a leader known for his straight talking. The Canadian PM saying middle powers must form coalitions or hegemons will increasingly dictate outcomes. A reference there to China, Russia and the United States. The leaders also signing a series of agreements today on critical minerals, artificial intelligence, superannuation fund investment, and they're also looking at sharing satellite data.
Although we could not be further physically apart, Canada and Australia are strategic cousins. In the post-rupture world, the nations that are trusted and can work together, will be quicker to the punch.
Australia and Canada are middle powers in a world that is changing. We cannot change it back. But we can back ourselves, back our citizens, and back each other.
Middle powers cannot simply build higher walls and retreat behind them. We must work together.
Hugh, economic shocks from the Iran war are now going well beyond oil and fuel prices. Farmers say increased fertiliser costs will have to be passed on to consumers. Prices for urea have jumped by $150 a tonne following the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
We're worried. We're worried that prices could double or triple. We're worried that we might not even be able to get it.
It would absolutely flow on into the price of bread, into the price of beef and meat, chicken.
Hugh, the government says there are about 17 weeks of urea stockpiled in Australia, but some politicians say this is a wake-up call for Australia to become self-reliant.
OK, Josh, thank you. A date has been set for the crucial Farrer by-election. Voters in Susan Lee's former seat will vote on Saturday, May 9. The federal electorate includes the border city of Albury in southern New South Wales. It's expected to be a four-way contest between the Liberals, Nationals, One Nation and a Climate 200-backed independent. Opposition leader Angus Taylor admits it will be an uphill battle to hold the division. It was a trek to work for light rail commuters in the CBD this morning. Fire broke out in the roof of a tram between Moore Park and Town Hall just after 8 o'clock. Services on the L2 Randwick and L3 Kingsford lines were disrupted, while firefighters ensured the safety of the light rail. It led to long queues at Central as commuters switched to trains and buses. The divorce of radio powerhouse partners Kyle and Jackie O is shaping up to be one of the most expensive legal battles in Australian media history. It's understood they have both hired employment lawyers as a dispute looms over their $200 million contract. Kyle has been suspended for 14 days and handed a breach of contract notice after their public falling out on air. Jackie's contract had been terminated by her resignation. However, rumours are swirling she may return to Kiss FM owner ARN with her own show. Day one of the Australian Grand Prix is underway with the V8 supercars tearing around the track at Albert Park. Thousands queued from early on to be the first in for the best vantage points, as Nick McCallum reports.
It's the race before the race and it's absolutely crazy. From around 9 o'clock last night, people started queuing at the race entrance gates. Now at 9:30 this morning, when the gates opened, hundreds of people sprinted a kilometre or so to Melbourne Walk. Melbourne is the only Grand Prix with a laneway dedicated to the F1 drivers. They get out of their cars, they walk along signing autographs and posing for pictures. So all these mad people are sprinting to try and get pole position to get access to their heroes. It's do or die.
It's all about just getting a good start off the line, I reckon, and then it's elbows out until barricades.
It's a once-a-year thing, you know. I'll get over the sleep deprivation next week and I'll be fine. No regrets.
Is it worth it?
I think we're all asking ourselves that same question right now. I think definitely, once you get there, it's definitely worth it. I think it's that anxiety that kind of makes it seem maybe not so much.
Can I ask you, why are you running?
Oh, to get there first.
Why is it so important?
To be better than everyone else, obviously.
Anzac Station has only recently opened. It's 400 metres away from the nearest entrance to the racetrack. They hope that will improve public transport. They have been concerned about security. There are police here with long arms, as there were at the Boxing Day test and also at the Australian Open. It's all part of wanting the season opener.
And if you're going to have race one, I think this is the year to have race one. Just like the new regulations, there's so much hype about that and so much uncertainty, and I think that's what builds sport and interest, is uncertainty.
Today's racing is mainly the supercars. The F1 drivers, including Melbourne's own Oscar Piastri, will not be on the track until tomorrow's practice laps.
Angelique Opie joins us now with a check on the weather. Angelique, humid and grey start today.
Hugh, good afternoon. A sticky Thursday with low-lying cloud rolling in across Sydney. Plenty of moisture in the atmosphere as temperatures climbed. Sunshine arrived in the afternoon. The top in the city, 30 degrees. Humidity nearly nudged 100% and high dew points made it feel even muggier and warmer. Humid weather right from Newcastle down to the south coast. We'll get that map for you. Temperatures edging to 37 in Coonamble, almost 30 degrees in northern parts of the state. Rain cells also moved through Sydney. We'll get that radar for you soon. Shanes Park and Bankstown saw almost 30 mils. Overcast conditions and possible showers are on the way tomorrow. I'll have the full forecast later on.
See you then, Angel. Thank you. Still to come, tragedy in Adelaide. A baby found unresponsive after a shocking accident. Also, bail denied. Accused high country killer Greg Lynn to await retrial behind bars. The shock moment, crooks use a chainsaw to rob a jewellery store. The Canadian Prime Minister addresses Australia's Parliament. And Chris Minns grilled about when he'll leave politics.
We're connecting you when big news breaks in every street, every suburb, every day.
7 News has been sent this exclusive vision.
When you see something Sydney needs to know about, share it with 7 News Sydney on email or text. 7 News Sydney, live at 6.
Police have arrested a woman over the death of a 9-month-old boy who was left in a car in Adelaide's north. Emergency services were called to a home after the baby was found unresponsive. Mitchell Sariovsky reports.
Witnesses say the parents didn't realise their 9-month-old baby was left in the car until they went to his bedroom and discovered he wasn't there. A little boy named Cohen was found unresponsive in a minivan parked in the Elizabeth Downs driveway. His parents ran from door to door pleading for help. Witnesses say while the baby was being given CPR, his mother was begging him to wake up. But by then, he had already passed away.
I seen somebody getting resuscitated down there before they had the sheets and everything, and then I was told that it was a 9-month-old baby left in the car.
Emergency crews swarmed Midlow Road around 8 last night. A 31-year-old woman who lives here has since been charged with criminal neglect.
I've got a grandbaby.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And that's just horrible.
Obviously, I've got my own kids, so that's scary.
Police returned to the street this morning, speaking to witnesses and the devastated family. We've spoken to a mother whose children went to school with the family's kids. She says multiple concerns had been reported to the Department of Child Protection and police, and parents in the community feared something like this could happen. The woman will face court in April.
Accused high country killer Greg Lynn has been denied bail ahead of his retrial over the death of camper Carol Clay. Laura Turner was at the Melbourne Supreme Court when the decision was handed down.
Well, we saw a few brief moments of emotion after this decision was handed down. High-profile defence barrister Dermot Dan Casey putting his arm around Greg Lynn's wife as they entered the lifts in his legal offices here in Melbourne. But that is all we really saw. As soon as Greg Lynn entered the Supreme Court of Appeal this morning, he smiled briefly at his family members before sitting down and learning the decision on his bail application within a matter of minutes. When the judge sat down, that was the first thing that came out of his mouth, that he had been denied bail in the case against him, where he's of course accused of murdering Carol Clay, an elderly woman who was camping in Victoria's high country. We tried to speak to Greg Lynn's family members outside court, though they were very tight-lipped. Are you disappointed with the decision today? How are you feeling, Geordie? This must be really stressful for you. Are you surprised at the result today? In terms of when we will see Greg Lynn in the dock for this murder trial, well, at his bail application, the prosecution were pushing for it to be sooner rather than later, saying it could be in 6 months' time, though his defence team had argued that he will need years before this trial can take place in order for him to receive a fair trial. We're yet to find out what the date is.
Sydney Jewish leader Alex Rivchin has thanked the United States for joining with Israel to conduct strikes against Iran. The co-chair of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry is in Washington to brief White House officials on the Bondi Beach terror attack.
I think the US reached a conclusion that they were being played by the Iranians, and the time to strike was now. And frankly, for the good of Israel, for the good of the United States, for the good of Australia, which, as I said, has been targeted by Iran as well, I'm glad they took the action they did.
Mr Ripchin says Israel has learnt the lessons of history. 5 Republicans have joined the Democrats to compel testimony from Pam Bondi as part of the investigation into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The US Attorney General will now be forced to testify about how the Justice Department handled the Epstein files. The move comes as lawmakers criticise the Justice Department over mistakes in the files, including the accidental release of survivors' names and unexplained redactions of people who may be linked to the disgraced financier's crimes. A thief has whipped out a power saw to cut his way into a jewellery store in the UK. He used the tool to break into a glass case in the middle of the day in full view of security cameras. His accomplices stood behind him holding machetes. Stealing a number of expensive items, the crooks made their getaway on a moped and still haven't been caught. Just ahead in 7's afternoon news, the new research program to combat Australia's liver disease epidemic. 2 teens in hospital after a joyride in a stolen car comes to a dramatic end. In sport with Tom Sacre, not long until we kick off the AFL season at the SCG, and the Giants skipper reveals his new role for Saturday's game. And a star cricketer for almost 2 decades to play her final test for Australia. That's next.
When the world is changing and it impacts us, Australia turns to 7. Australia turns to trust. Chief Correspondent Chris Reason live from Tel Aviv from sunrise to 6 p.m. every night and special coverage
on 7 News.
Tonight in 7 News, joy and relief. The first Australians to escape Dubai arrive in Sydney. The moment a US torpedo wiped out an Iranian warship. Horror collision after a car was stolen from Blacktown Hospital. Split-second survival as the lift goes rogue. And the Sydney Servo is charging $2.60 for petrol. Sydney's 7 News at 6.
Right now, Tom Sacre is here with Sport. And Tom, a new look for a serious reason for the player who symbolises the Sea Eagles.
Yeah, that's right, Hugh. Good afternoon. He's been trialling it at training, but now Manly stalwart Jake Trbojevic will wear headgear for the first time on Saturday night at Brookvale Oval against the Raiders. The reason, 3 separate serious concussions for the 32-year-old in 2025. The first of its kind bubble-like headgear, impressing Jake's younger brother very much.
Taking the headgear is quite funny, but no, it's obviously for a good cause. Obviously, concussions are not a good thing to see, and apparently this new headgear is really good to prevent them.
Saturday night at Brookie is all but sold out. Toby Green is ready to embrace a new challenge this season, spending more time in the midfield. With Tom Green ruled out for the season due to an ACL injury, Toby's expanded role will be unleashed in the Giants' season opener against Hawthorn on Saturday.
It's a good challenge. It's different. I want to play against the best mids and sort of test myself and see, if I can get to a good level within the midfield and sort of be a dual threat.
The 32-year-old skipper is off contract at the end of the season. Central Coast has strengthened their finals push with a 3-1 win over Macarthur in the A-League. Lightning in Sydney's West delayed kick-off for 25 minutes, but the Mariners served up even greater strikes.
As far as Brandman deflection, that time it's in. That time the Mariners have got their second goal.
The Mariners are now 6th on the table, stretching their unbeaten record to 7 matches. Manchester City's bid to run down Arsenal in the Premier League title race has stalled, held to a 2-2 draw by 17th place Nottingham Forest.
It's Elliot Anderson! And once again, Nottingham Forest have come from behind.
The Gunners are now 7 points clear of City at the top after a 1-0 win over Brighton. Newcastle United handed Manchester their first loss under Michael Carrick, scoring in the 90th minute to win 2-1. Kiwi Finn Allen has blasted the fastest ever century at a men's T20 World Cup to power New Zealand into the final. Chasing 170 against the unbeaten South Africans, Allen smacked 10 fours and 8 sixes to motor the Black Caps to a 9-wicket win, the opener bringing up his ton off just 33 balls.
And bingo! It's the fastest T20 100 in the World Cup ever for the men.
West Indies' Chris Gale held the previous record of 47 balls. New Zealand faced the winner of the second semi-final between England and India. Tomorrow's test against India in Perth will be Alyssa Healy's last game for Australia. A star for almost 2 decades, the 35-year-old remains in stellar form just days ago, ending her one-day international career with a stunning 158. A rare 11th test tomorrow, a fitting finale.
Just enjoy every experience and every moment, and try not to get too grumpy along the way, no matter what the results are.
The best India can do is draw the multi-format series, but Australia will keep the trophy. That game is on 7 tomorrow. Tonight we have the Swans and Carlton at the SCG. I'll be there reading sport. It's going to be a great game. Can't wait for footy season to start here.
Going to be a big night at Moore Park.
That's right.
Good on you, Tom. Thank you. The top stories are next on Sydney's Afternoon News here on 7, including the True North and Land Down Under. Canada's PM addresses Parliament. The warning on air travel, rising fuel costs to see a sharp rise in ticket prices. And Ed Sheeran launches an Australian first to help those in need.
Live from Sydney, this is 7 News with Hugh Whitfeld.
Welcome back. These are our top stories on 7. The war on Iran spreads from the Middle East, with the United States sinking an Iranian warship off Sri Lanka's coast. Escape from the war zone, the first plane load of Australians touched down in Sydney. Strength through unity. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney addresses Australia's Parliament. More of his speech in a moment. Expensive split. The lawyers called in over the multi-million-dollar fallout after Kyle and Jackie O call it quits. The United States has shown it will attack Iran anywhere in the world after a submarine fired a torpedo, sinking an Iranian Navy ship in the Indian Ocean off Sri Lanka. At least 87 sailors were killed and another 32 have been rescued by the Sri Lankan Coast Guard. It comes as Israel begins a new wave of strikes on Tehran.
There hasn't been a video like this in decades. A periscope showing the massive blast after an American sub destroyed an Iranian Navy ship. It's the first time since World War II an American sub sunk an enemy ship with a torpedo.
Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15. And we're going to continue to do well.
As the Pentagon describes sweeping success in the war's first 4 days.
Only the United States of America could lead this, only us. But when you add the Israeli Defense Forces, a devastatingly capable force, the combination is sheer destruction for our radical Islamist Iranian adversaries. They are toast, and they know it.
The Pentagon released videos of U.S. strikes on Iranian missile launchers, limiting Iran's ability to carry out attacks, saying the number of ballistic missiles fired by Iran has plummeted 86% since Saturday, and that Iranian drone attacks are down 73%.
The two most powerful air forces in the world, the U.S. and Israel, are dominating the skies of the world's largest state sponsor of terror.
But Iran is still firing back and is attempting to widen the conflict even further, now targeting Turkey, a NATO member. NATO's air defenses shot down an Iranian missile that Turkey says penetrated its airspace. NATO's Secretary General today backing the U.S. and Israeli operation that killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
NATO will defend every inch of NATO territory. We are all better off with him gone and with the nuclear and ballistic capability being beaten and degraded.
While in Israel, Israeli-American Ziv Rotem showed us what's left of his home office after an Iranian missile exploded outside. He says he's anti-war, but supports this one.
I think that this war could be pivotal and could benefit a lot of people and could fight actual evil, which is the Iranian regime, I think.
So we've just received an alert that there is another barrage coming, so we're taking cover under a building that was already hit and already damaged by an earlier Iranian attack. And there are the sirens. All as Israel expands its strikes on the Iranian-backed group Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran's Red Crescent says more than 1,000 Iranians have been killed in the war so far.
The first Australians to escape the war zone touched down at Sydney Airport last night on a flight from Dubai. It comes as teams from the Department of Foreign Affairs head out, ramping up efforts to bring thousands more Aussies home. Chris Marr has the latest.
It was one of the most watched flights in the world. Emirates flight EK414 touched down to Sydney's International Airport around 10:30 last night. It was the first flight back to Australia to make it out of Dubai, the country where just nights ago the airport was hit by an Iranian strike. There were joyous scenes in the arrivals terminal as some 200 Australians finally returned home into the welcome arms of loved ones. There were plenty of hugs and tears as they savoured a moment of overwhelming relief. Among the Aussies returning home, students from Sydney's Barker College. And while many paid thousands of dollars to secure a seat, it was worth it.
Everyone was cheering and clapping. Quite emotional, yeah. Glad to be home.
Feeling fabulous. Over the moon. Yeah, she's back. My brother, my nephew and my mom are back. Safe and sound. I'm so happy. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Also among the relieved relatives, a familiar face for the Channel 7 family.
It's a huge relief. Like kids in a war zone, you realise how lucky you are living here.
There are still around 115,000 Australians in the Middle East, many desperate to find a way home and out of the war zone. 3 more flights have made it out and are currently in the air on the way home. They'll arrive tonight and tomorrow morning, and there'll surely be more joyous scenes as we saw last night.
Aviation safety experts warn travel could be compromised for the next 4 to 5 months. Rising fuel prices will almost certainly be passed on by airlines as uncertainty grows about flying through the Middle East. Here's aviation editor Blake Johnson.
The warning comes not so much for safety but for price and for the ability to keep your travel plans in place. The former head of safety at Qantas says it could be at least 5 months of disruptions and higher airfares because of the flow-on effects of people rebooking travel at the moment.
I think the knock-on effect of increased fuel costs, reduced availability and new routing of routes will have an effect for the next 4 to 5 months.
Airfares are already climbing towards extraordinary figures.
You know, economy fares are around that $5,000 return and business are around the 17 or 18,000 at the moment.
It'll be a while before William Keogh goes back to Dubai. He was on the first Emirates flight out that landed in Sydney yesterday. He got home to Melbourne today.
I've never felt a plane move that fast and, almost got thrown to the back of your seat. We took off incredibly quick, but when they were, trying to get up to altitude, it was, we were moving along.
It is a big travel year for many. The Commonwealth Games in Scotland, the FIFA World Cup in America, and Euro Summer incoming. Flying overseas may require extreme flexibility and some imagination, picking transit points you've never thought of.
Some people I know are going via South Africa and some via the States.
More flights are coming out of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. At this stage, no word yet on when flights from Qatar might resume.
Australia and Canada are deepening ties, announcing a major expansion of cooperation across defence, critical minerals and clean energy. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney addressed a joint sitting of the Australian Parliament today. Here's some of what he had to say.
The true north and the land down under, navigating with the same values. With that global architecture now breaking down from consecutive crises, I've come to Australia at your invitation to reaffirm our alliance and to suggest where it can go next. From this rupture, we can build something better, more prosperous, more resilient, and more just, or let the hegemons dictate outcomes. In the new global environment, the ability to form effective coalitions is becoming a central strategic capability. Great powers can compel, but compulsion comes with costs, both reputational and financial. In the post-rupture world, the nations that are trusted and can work together will be quicker to the punch.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney in Canberra today, and we'll have more coverage of the war and the fallout here in 7 News at 6. Now to Sydney's news, and 2 teenagers are in hospital after a stolen car crashed into a truck during a police pursuit in Sydney's west. Police say the Hyundai sedan was stolen from a car park in Blacktown. The driver refused to stop and a pursuit began. A short time later, the car and a truck collided on Forrester Road. The 17-year-old girl who was driving escaped with minor injuries. Her 16-year-old male passenger suffered serious injuries. The truck driver was not hurt. Premier Chris Minns has faced a grilling in budget estimates after he joked on Thursday he'd be out of a job by 2032. This was the first question he faced today.
Premier, it's fair to say that you're headed for the exit. Isn't that the case?
Well, hopefully not imminently.
Have you had discussions with your wife about it? I have discussions with my wife all the time.
What did she say about your future?
He went on to say unless voters decide otherwise, he's not going anywhere. Still ahead on Sydney's afternoon news, the funding boost to tackle a liver condition affecting a third of Australians. Ed Sheeran's groundbreaking food relief initiative. It's 26 degrees at the Carrington Hotel in Katoomba. We'll have your full forecast very soon.
When the world is changing and it impacts us, Australia turns to 7. Australia turns to trust. Chief Correspondent Chris Reason live from Tel Aviv from sunrise to 6 p.m. every night and special coverage
on 7 News.
Decades of slip, slop, slap campaigns have slashed the risk of skin cancer in young people, according to a 25-year Australian study. Children born since the year 2000 have 50% fewer moles on their body compared to those who were born in the 80s and 90s.
If you halve the number of moles you have like that, then you should at least, you probably have a 3 or 4-fold drop in your risk of getting melanoma later in life.
I think this will reinforce parents' attention to making sure their kids are well protected, sun protected when they go out.
Around 1,300 Australians die from skin cancer each year. Fatty liver disease is the nation's most common liver condition, yet treatment still relies mainly on diet and exercise. Now, a new research program is being introduced to combat the epidemic. Paul Kadak has the details.
Good afternoon. Well, it's been called one of the most widespread chronic diseases that people have never heard of, but it's estimated that some 1 in 3 Australian adults have fatty liver disease. It shows no obvious sign of symptoms often, and there is currently no specific medical treatment. Fatty liver disease is when too much fat has built up in the liver from usually too much food, too much alcohol. Over time, it can lead to scarring or cirrhosis, which can then trigger liver failure, liver cancer, and the need for a transplant. It also increases the risk of heart and kidney disease.
And what we know is that there are increasing numbers of children with fatty liver disease, and that means that during their productive years of life, they could get sick from the consequences of fatty liver disease.
Here at the Westmead Institute of Medical Research today, the launch of a $15 million 7-year research project to better understand at the molecular level what causes the disease to progress, to also look for biological markers that could lead to a simple blood test to help detect fatty liver disease early, because if caught early, it can often be reversed. The ultimate aim to also develop effective medical treatment for those with advanced liver disease.
This is incredibly personal for our family. Terry Snow, my father, he suffered from a form of liver disease, and we saw the pain he went through. We saw the effect that it had on his mental health, the way that he wasted away day by day.
This project will be involving universities and hospitals right across Australia, researchers working towards better detection, better treatment, and hopefully prevention of fatty liver disease.
It's been a calmer day on global markets, with the ASX bouncing back from yesterday's sharp sell-off. ING's James Tao has the latest.
Good afternoon. Global markets stabilised with a sense of calm returning after the recent sell-off, where the Aussie market shed over 3% in the past 2 days. The ASX 200 managed a small gain today, improving by 39 points or 0.4%. The local IT sector was a clear standout in leading the rebound following a tech-led bounce on Wall Street overnight. There were also gains from the heavyweight banking and healthcare names that did a fair bit of the heavy lifting. NAB led the big 4 banks higher, adding close to 1.5%, while biotech giant CSL added 2.5%. The materials sector was the main drag today as gold miners eased despite a pickup in the price of the precious metal. And BHP was also down, having traded ex-dividend today. The Aussie dollar gave up some of its earlier gains, but continues to hover around 70.5 US cents.
Sydney's 6pm news is coming up with Michael Usher and Angie Azimus. Michael, what's on the program?
Hello there, Hugh. Well, tonight plenty more on those emotional scenes at Sydney Airport as Australians stuck in the Middle East disaster zone finally get their way out, plus the next flight set to arrive, and how much it costs to escape to safety. Now, suddenly $3 a litre for petrol doesn't seem so absurd. At 6, we're live to the Western Sydney servo, where regular unleaded is already going for more than $2.60, believe it or not. A stolen car chased by police before a shocking crash in Tregear. Tonight, the dash from Blacktown Hospital, where the owner says her brand new vehicle was taken. We'll have the latest on the condition of the 2 teens involved. Kyle and Jackie O hunker down tonight. New details about what caused the split as Kyle calls in his manager. And Nathan Cleary's kitchen nightmare, the NRL star pleading for a magician after his roof caved in, flooding his very nice Riverside home. Real mess there. So Hugh will have that for you. Plenty more, of course, coming up in Sydney 7 News at 6.
See you then, Michael. Thank you. Music megastar Ed Sheeran is leaving a legacy in Melbourne with his famous lasagna on offer in newly installed food vending machines. As Rochelle Brown reports, it's part of a groundbreaking food relief initiative providing hot meals to those in need.
Pop star Ed Sheeran has left his mark on Melbourne, helping launch a new initiative to help those facing hardship. The singer joined chefs at the Big Umbrella Foundation's Emergency Food Relief Centre in Brunswick on Wednesday to prepare his famous lasagna, one of several meals soon available at a range of ATM vending machines. The machines are designed to provide free, hot, nutritious meals for people experiencing homelessness or food insecurity.
It's quick, it's simple, and it directly supports someone who needs it. Thanks for being a part of this. I'm really proud to support the Big Umbrella Foundation, and I'm excited to see what progress this impact will have.
The first machine will be installed at Federation Square with a number to follow across the city.
Food insecurity is rife. I think 48% of the people in the city of Melbourne are facing food insecurity at this point. So we're issuing free little tap cards that people get issued, and they get 1 meal a day on that card, and they come up and they tap it on the machine and they get access to a free meal. We hope to get it at Melbourne Town Hall, down at Southern Cross Station, down at South Bank, places like that.
Just one of several stops on Ed Sheeran's Melbourne tour. The singer also surprised patients with an impromptu performance at the Royal Children's Hospital. The pop star performs in Adelaide tonight, but the work at the foundation continues long after.
Next in 7's afternoon news, our hot shot of the day, a big day for polar bears all over the world. And Angelique is here with your latest forecast across Sydney and around the country.
Tonight in 7 News, joy and relief. The first Australians to escape Dubai arrive in Sydney. The moment a US torpedo wiped out an Iranian warship. Horror collision after a car was stolen from Blacktown Hospital. Split-second survival as the lift goes rogue. And the Sydney servo is charging $2.60 for petrol. Sydney's 7 News at 6.
How's this for a special buy? Aldi Holidays have launched a new super ferry giving Sydney-siders a Queensland experience for just $5. Passengers can board the Queensland-inspired super yacht on the iconic Sydney-Manly ferry route.
The super ferry is our way of showing Australians exactly what Aldi Holidays stands for, which is luxury-style experiences without the luxury price tag.
The event showcasing Queensland's holiday destinations to promote Aldi's range of affordable holiday packages. Time for a look at the forecast now with Angelique Opie. Angel, it could be a rainy end to the week.
Hugh, rain likely to roll in and possible storm too in the city now with plenty of blue. It's 28 degrees. With a high dew point, it feels more like 30. Picking up the satellite image, a high pressure ridge is promoting settled conditions. A trough over inland parts of the state is drawing moisture south. A second trough sitting off the New South Wales coast is also bringing that moisture. As it stays in the air, that could see more rain cells moving around the Sydney metro region, setting us up for a very wet weekend. Looking around the country, Darwin grey tomorrow, 29. Showers easing in Brisbane, 29 too. Partly cloudy in Canberra. Melbourne, 24 degrees and grey skies. Hobart, partly cloudy. Sunny for Adelaide, 27. Perth, clear skies and hot. The forecast for Sydney, a medium chance of showers in the afternoon and evening. The chance of a thunderstorm then as well. Light winds and 29 degrees. Sticky conditions too. A thunderstorm possible in the west, 31. Showers and storms developing on Saturday. Sunday rain also on the way, a top of 25 and 23 degrees. A drizzly start to the week on Monday in the low to mid-20s. Then cloud cover for Tuesday and Wednesday, and we will have more local details in the news at 6.
See you then, Angel. Thank you. Now our hot shot, and they're known to be solitary and aggressive creatures, but apparently polar bears enjoy a bit of downtime, just like the rest of us. To mark International Polar Bear Day, staff at Memphis Zoo treated this bear named Coda to some fun in the sun. They threw him an inflatable pickle to play with, watching as he tossed it around, seemingly having the time of his life. Congratulations to all those polar bears. That's our 4 p.m. news for this Thursday. Your next bulletin is 7 News at 6. I'm Hugh Whitfeld. Stay with 7 Now for the Chase Australia. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.